He's whiny.
Yeah, like he sounds like such a bitch. My thing with hangovers has been like, I spent a good portion of my sophomore year because suddenly my sophomore year of college I developed hangovers, right? Like I had never prior to that age I had never had hangovers. I've been able to sit there and I could drink 2 handles of the shittiest fucking dumpster vodka, like fucking like $3.50 a bottle type shit, and I would be totally fine. And then all of a sudden, sophomore year, I developed these like disgusting, ravenous old man hangovers. And I spent probably the better half of that year trying to figure out like, how do I get rid of hangovers? Are any of the hangover cures that people write about on, does any single one of them
So I found one
work?
that works.
I
I don't know what it's called.
I've never had anyone
it's like,
that's worked.
It starts with a Z. It's like in a vial that's like a 5-hour energy. I had it recently. I had it with Rat from Hitler. And there's a guy who probably doesn't want to be doxxed on this, who's like a Silicon Valley type. Anyway, he had them in his house. And Jimbo was there too. And he had this vial. He was like, "Oh, it's a hangover thing. You drink it before you drink, and then it's gonna remove the chemical that is experienced in your body that's a hangover." And I was like, "Oh, this is bullshit, but I'm gonna try it anyway." But it actually worked. So I don't.
You need to tell me what this is.
It starts with a Z. I can't remember the rest of it.
It starts with a Z.
It literally starts with a Z.
I'm never going to be able to find Z.
No, I'll find it. A hangover, just for like hangover cure, and then the letter Z. Google will fill in the rest. I bet you I can use Google Home to do it. But anyway, we'll do this. We'll look at this later. But it generally worked. Now the question is was I also primed and having a placebo effect? So I need to do full trials on this. But
yeah, because I've
worked.
just tried so much of this shit, and
It's also new. Like it's like a 2022 type of
because
invention.
The classic meme was like, "Oh, you just need to hydrate." That so clearly doesn't work.
No.
Like you can drink an unlimited amount of water, but because of what like alcohol does to your body's like electrolyte content, you just pee it out. You know,
Yes.
in the same way that like you can't suspend a milligram of potassium in your muscles without like an equivalent milligram or I think it's an equivalent like 1.4 milligrams or something of glycogen, but there's some ratio between the two of them where you basically like in order to hold on to electrolytes, your body needs other things.
Yes.
And alcohol makes you piss all of that out. So in order to even be able to like retain the water that you're drinking anymore, you need to replenish your electrolytes somehow, which gets very hard when you're in this like state of being both depleted of water and electrolytes.
Yeah, so I think it's like some kind of electrolyte plus some kind of specific chemical that targets the byproduct of your body breaking down alcohol, which is what you feel as a hangover. And that is, and when I had it, it didn't make me like less groggy or like less like drained. It just made me like not like nauseated and like feeling like alcohol is coming out of my system.
Oh,
so like you
still
tired.
felt shitty.
You felt shitty, but like not nearly like just like I didn't sleep last night because I was up all night partying. Not I drank a fuck ton and now I have
because like my hangovers
hangover.
always feel like there's cogs in my brain that are normally spinning and they mesh together, and when I'm like formulating a sentence I can feel as I go word to word each little cog meshing up perfectly with this little gear, and when I'm hungover it feels like one of the gears has cogs that are like twice as wide as normal and they just keep whacking against each other, and
absolutely.
And I literally like I lose recall for like 20% of my vocabulary. Like
okay, that's not going to go away.
Oh, okay.
The part that goes away is
it doesn't even
the
cure my
nausea and
hangovers.
stuff. All that other stuff.
The
goes away.
thing that I've always wanted with a hangover cure has been something that makes me so I'm not like mentally incapacitated and like it's not like I'm totally incapable of doing anything, right? Like I could go to work hungover and it would be fine, and I would be like some degree uncomfortable, but it's not like I couldn't do my job. But it's just like anything that I do where I need to actually be like on point. Like I would not do like an important job interview hungover.
Oh, absolutely not. I did that once, and that actually that's one of the reasons I stopped drinking after college.
I would, you're just embarrassed,
Yeah,
right?
I was embarrassed. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
Because I already do that. Like every time I have any conversation with anyone, I think back on it and I'm thinking like, hey man, like if only I had said like this, or oh, this would have been more clever if I like just extremely neurotic girl brained overwrite of like everything that I had said and being like, oh man, like I wish that I would have done it this way. And like every time I've had a conversation with somebody important while hungover, it's been that, but like on steroids.
Yeah, it felt like shit. So that's why I like literally was like, I can't drink anymore because that's fucking embarrassing. And it could have been a cool job too. I think it would have been a cool job for me at 22. Now being a software dev for a pot company sounds so Reddit. Like it's so fucking Reddit. But at 22, I thought that was cool. But now I'm like, because it would have moved me out. They would have flown me out to California, et cetera, et cetera.
Of course, it was in California.
Of course, it had to be.
Of course, the software weed company was in California.
Yeah, this is 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
Do you remember there was that period where everybody was saying like, invest in weed stocks and you'll become an instant billionaire?
Well, they did blow up in 2020 or 2021, 19. There was a few of them that like blew the fuck up.
So this is what I was wondering. Did they blow up broad spectrum? Because I know that some of them did get really big, but it didn't.
Nah, it was like 3.
Because that's what I thought. That it was like 3 or 4 of them that made it really big, and then the rest just all died.
I think
Whereas everybody told me basically that it was going to be a broad spectrum increase, and every single one of these companies was going to like rising tides pulled all boats type thing.
And that's what people thought, and that's why they got blown the fuck out.
Right.
Because it was 3 or whatever, and then.
And this was always my assumption was it's going to perform as any other drug industry does, and there's going to be a severe monopolization of assets. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to invest because I had no idea which weed asset was going to be like the big shark.
One of them's going to kill everyone else, and that's how it always is. Yeah.
Because there's gonna be one of these weed companies that has an owner that doesn't smoke weed, and he's gonna BTFO every single other one of these companies.
That's such a good point, actually. Yeah, the one weed company,
the one guy who actually internalized like don't get high on your own supply is going to become a multi-billionaire,
and he supplies everyone. So he's like, I can't smoke this. Sorry,
but he would also never admit that. Like there was a period where I was thinking like, could I just go through the interview footage of this guy and see like. See if he says like I don't smoke weed, but like why would you ever say that?
You never would, yeah.
Like you literally you
want to make it seem like you're such a competent member of society,
right? And I was thinking
while smoking weed.
I was thinking literally if this guy is as smart as I think he's going to be, not only is he not going to, he's going to lie in the interviews. Mm-hmm. He's going to tell he's going to like do weird pothead implications. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I was just outside, like hitting it a little bit earlier, right before this. He's going to come in and he's going to show up. He's going to intentionally slow down his speech. Mm-hmm. He's going to be wearing a fucking one of those stupid beanies.
He's going to make everyone think he's high. Yeah.
He's going to have that jacket with the shitty tessellated colors and patterns. There's going to be like weed socks.
I hope it's not bad. Sorry.
He's gonna have a T-shirt with South Park Towel-y with the fucking red eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, he wants to make it seem like, but he also wants to only do that for interviews. And the second the interview goes off, he's gonna be like a normal, dedicated member of society.
He's gonna be like Superman jumping into the telephone booth, instantly ripping off all of his disgusting weed people clothes, changing into like a suit and tie, and like
he's like, I would never fuck it. Yeah, let's go fucking have a. He probably doesn't even drink. He actually might. He probably drinks cocktails because
he drinks whiskey.
He's a whiskey drinker for sure. Because it's like a maniacal whiskey drinker that's just like fucking sitting there in front of a fireplace. Like
We've
I'm gonna fucking destroy
profiled
these.
The living shit out of this.
Absolutely. Guy. He definitely drinks whiskey and just looks at the fire and like just revels in how fucking smart he is. And he fucking owned all those pothead idiots. Those fucking hippie commie bastards.
That's like. This is definitely the double-edged sword of businesses like that, in the same way that the people who go and they say, like, the ultimate grift is like selling a bunch of libtards these mugs that say, like, white Republican GOP tears or something like that. And it's like, it is funny. It certainly is funny taking the money of people who you hate and providing them with something that you think is, like, retarded garbage.
But it doesn't work as well as you think.
The problem is that you have to like successfully pass all their bullshit filters, which like is not generally going to be the hard part of it. But the hard part of it is going to be that in order to pass those bullshit filters, you have to make yourself do things that make you want to kill yourself.
Yeah, you have to continue to live the lie enough that they believe you.
This was a big part of why I got out of like the whole audio game thing, was because I realized that yes, there is nearly infinite profit in selling people things that are essentially snake oil, right? Like selling them. Oh, this is a list braided 24 karat gold cable with these special $200 connectors that it's bare wire contacting you. This was actually really silly. So they had these connectors where typically you'll have a connector for audio interconnects cables where you will solder a wire onto one end of the pin, and then you will solder another wire onto the other pin. And then you like screw the back casing on, and that it connects that way. There were these stupid like $80. It was literally like machined Delrin connectors or something like that, where you would instead thread the wire through, and then they would have a little plastic clamp where basically what it would do is it would take the wire and press the wire directly to the contact on the other side. Like the wire would be pushed into a position by the plastic where the wire itself acted as the pin. And there was about a 5-year period where everybody, like, they would kill for these things, man. If you put these on any of your interconnects, you could upcharge people like literally $500.
Okay.
It was absurd because the marketing angle was, oh, you're reducing 2 electrical connections, right?
Oh, fewer.
Because it's
fewer.
Right. So it's going to be the white or the wire going directly from the output to the input. Without having the solder connection.
Yeah.
And there were people who would swear on Bibles that they could hear substantial differences between this and a traditional connector.
And it doesn't matter.
So you can do stuff like this, and you can totally, and like again, these people were people that I generally hated. Like I thought they were ridiculous, neurotic idiots. And like I am a very ridiculous and neurotic person myself, but these people, they took it to a very absurd level. And it was like, yeah, there's unlimited money if you go with it and you say, yeah, like this 100% is going to improve your listening experience. And it does, is the other thing, is if you tell them that it does and if they spend enough money on it, it does. Yeah. But like, I don't know. You have to have enough personal buy-in to it that it doesn't feel like bullshit to you, or else saying
You'll feel like
you literally feel like you're dunking your soul in battery acid, right? Like there's a lot of things that I could do. Like I can sell an unlimited amount of crystal healing products because I, on some level, have realized that I just believe in it, right?
Based.
Like it doesn't. like I can go out and I can sell anyone like a crystal obelisk because I can literally make things up about it that on the spot I have created and I believe them.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like I made them up as in
that's
I
like
invented this, but it's like I divined the knowledge.
No, that's like me and Tara. Like I was like, no, I think I just believe in Tara. I think I just like.
Yeah.
At some point I was like, yeah, no, this is just what I like. This is real. And then anything I say about it afterwards is like, yeah, this is real.
Like I think it's really spiritually draining to not actually believe in this stuff.
You do have to believe. Yeah, it's very, very difficult to not take your own poison.
This is the other part of why podcasting with 0 listeners is really hard, is because you have to somehow advertise something that nobody is willing to listen to. And how do you convince yourself that there's value in that?
That's a good point. You have to be so narcissistic, like the two of us, that
you have to be extremely.
You have to be so narcissistic.
Like starting a podcast up from 0, you have to be so freaking bullheaded and insane.
Like imagine, I've done before. This is like my 5th podcast attempt, probably. I've done multiple podcasts that I know for a fact basically no one listened to, and I was just fucking talking for hours into fucking nothing, into the ether on SoundCloud or whatever the fuck.
So it is extremely narcissistic, but it's also like it's essentially journaling, right?
It is like journaling, yeah.
And it's obviously less easy to reference and go through and stuff like that, but if you were to just go to, I think if the average person were to go and journal for like 20 minutes a day for a year,
it'd be similar.
I think there's going to be a very positive effect. I think there's going to be a similar, but probably slightly lesser effect if they do the same thing over like voice notes on their cell phone or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, the active people could hear it. Makes it feel a little more real. Well, especially if I got like 20 views. You're like, who are the 20? And like I remember in college, I had a podcast. Like I had one in college, like at the very end, and I was like fucking just talking because I was like I started doing because I was sober, and I was like I didn't want to fucking go to the bar and I had to entertain myself. So I would just fucking chain drink LaCroix, fucking seltzer water.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
talking to the mic and like be burping into the mic and shit and making just fucking, I was just being fucking psycho. But I was talking about being sober and like how this is like replacing the alcohol. And then I remember someone like referencing it. I was like waiting tables and this girl who I knew, I mean like we were, whatever, it's my friend's little sister basically, but we went to school together. And she mentioned it when I was like waiting her table. I was like,
is there any chance that she didn't have like a massive crush on you?
oh, she definitely did.
Okay.
She definitely had a big crush on me. Yeah. I didn't realize that at the time.
This is like the funniest part about being a guy is like your entire first 20 years of life. Are you realizing every year like, oh, these 3 girls from last year had massive crushes on me and I am a total idiot for not noticing? And then the next year you invent 3 new ways to not notice that the new girls that God sends you also had crushes on you.
You know what's crazy though? Like I not noticing this one is like so dumb. Like she was like fucking like cartoon-eyed looking at me constantly. And
bro,
like,
if she listens to your 20 listener podcast and you think she's doing that right, and she brings it up to you and you're still like, wait, you mean like you have a crush on me, bro? Like that's crazy.
And I totally would have dated her too. If we would have been
this is always what everyone says too. It's always they think back to the girls who they like totally slept on and they're like, oh yeah, wow, fuck, I'm an idiot. I would have gone out with her for sure. Like,
I just had no idea.
Like it's literally
stupid.
Never like, oh, I hated that bitch. Like, fuck
yeah,
her.
it's very rarely that chick. It's always like, yeah, she was cute. Yeah, I just am stupid. I had no idea.
This is like one of the funniest things about like the female race overall is
it takes like a year for us to notice your sign.
Right, and like. Well, like if they had said it in like any other way, right? Like it's literally the cartoon where they have like the 2 guys digging for the diamonds and the one gives up like right before. Like if they had been 2 steps more obvious,
I would have picked up on it.
They literally would have like gotten married and then like
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if she was just like slightly more out, I would have been like, oh, of course, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, but they already think they're being so obvious, and like now we can recognize, they were being so obvious.
But my male brain takes like that much.
But it's like
to
so obvious to like a 19-year-old male is so different to so obvious to a 20 anything above 25-year-old male.
Yeah, now I can think back to like history. I'm like, oh yeah, a dozen of these chicks were like into me.
Well, it's like now you can tell if a girl is into you based on like
how she looks at you.
0.5 second period of eye contact, right?
Yeah. Now,
whereas before it was like you could be staring at a girl from across the bar for 3 minutes straight while like singing along to the same song together, and you can be like, wow, that was a weird coincidence. Anyway, back to my drinking.
Exactly. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like even my girlfriend, like I didn't realize she liked me.
Well, that's the same with me actually. Fuck, I did it again. I'm sitting here talking about how like totally oblivious we are and how we would never let that happen again. And it's like, wait a second, wait just a fucking minute. My literal relationship happened from my girlfriend for months being like, we could get married, and me being like, I think this girl is joking with me. Like, I think she's fucking with me.
She was messaging me for like the last she didn't talk to me. Sure, she hated me, but she read all my tweets and she referenced them. I saw her like 6 months later, and she was like mentioning stuff that she had no business even knowing happened. Like she had to have seen in my story. I don't even use Instagram, by the way. I've made like in the 6 months period maybe 12 stories. Arbitrarily dispersed, and she referenced stories that I posted, and I was like, I don't know, she just fucking hates me that much. Maybe it was a coincidence. Like,
was she like doing like it was an open like I hate you verse, like she was contacting you and like giving you shit?
No. It was like to her friends, and then like we happened to have mutual friends, and we ran into each other, and then we got like drunk. Whatever. She was like, but like in the argument, she was like, we were drunk, fake arguing, kind of. And in that argument, she was dropping knowledge that was like impossible to know if you weren't like actively watching me.
I've always wondered what would happen if a guy in that situation was like, "Oh my god, are you obsessed with me?" God, like they do like the 19-year-old like Instagram horror line, like, "Oh my god, like you."
No, ick, ew. Why would you? No. I just was like, oh, wait a second, maybe she didn't hate me. I mean, who would have thought? We out here.
You should have called her out. That was as soon as I have the moment of realization. I have to start giving them shit for.
Well, here's the thing now. Because I was drinking, I was like, I'm probably drunk. And I'm like, in my stupid drunk mind, I'm like, oh, I would make a move now. And then she would slap me. And I'm like, God, I didn't do that. But then like 3 months later, I'm like, oh, I was completely spot on. I knew exactly. I knew everything. All my thoughts were completely coherent. So here we are. We vibe. Now I have a girlfriend. So, the way that I really found out is that after like a month after this interaction, she sent me like an essay in my DMs, like a literal essay about how much that conversation meant to her. Like, I was like, oh, okay, this is very interesting. Why that she would reference this one conversation we had.
I sometimes hate that I am the extreme empath that I am, because it would be so funny. There are so many of these times where I've received like the massive emotionally charged essay from people, whether they're guys or girls, and like, my brain always jumps to like the funniest response, and it's always like responding to their 2,000-word essay with like, "Wow, ick, you are a freak." And I've never been able to bring myself to press send on that message,
freak.
but like it's just so funny.
That'd be so good. That would be so funny. Oh yeah, no, I am too nice too. I'm too empathetic.
It's so bad when you see like somebody who's like stuck they're so overextended, and they just like they're relying on your good faith to not do this in response.
Oh, dude, I used to send these essays to girls I was into. And oh my god,
dude, I
cringe of it. Oh my god,
I think I had like a period in high school where I did like similar things like this, and I read some like Manosphere dating thing in like when I was like 17. It wasn't on like Heartiste or any of those sites. It was on like bodybuilding.com Teen Misc. It was some like borderline mentally retarded poster who came in and said like, if you want to fuck, you got to send 7 words. If you ever send a bitch more than 7 words, you ain't going to fuck. Which is like,
it's kind of true. It's kind of true though. Once I stopped, no, unironically, I remember I had this similar realization, not 7 words, but like, I was like, if I start writing like more caveman, I wonder what would happen, because having all these words is very like
it's
effeminate.
Literally the Bronze Age pervert posts on bodybuilding.com.
You respect my fuck?
Yeah, like this shit. And like obviously this is not this, like if you're gonna try and deal with like a fairly high IQ, like smart, weird autist girl,
not gonna work.
Yeah, you want to be spamming the massive interesting
essays,
paragraphs, right? But like, for the average, broadly approachable strategy here, the guy who said, like the 90 IQ poster who said, if you ever send her more than 7 words, you won't fuck. Like, he was right.
He was so right, dude.
And I started doing that with all of like the thoughts, and it was just like wildly successful. Like,
it's weird.
They would send me some message, and I would just respond with like totally disinterested 5-word response, and suddenly I was like just drowning in it. Yeah, I was like, this is so fucking stupid. And then that led to me entering like a massive incel period of just like
being black-pilled.
So black-pilled. Like the fact that this retard advice worked has actually caused.
I remember when I used to write messages, because I remember a few girls would comment that I like write so much. Blah blah blah. It was like kind of whatever. So I was like, okay. So I would write messages, and then I would just like delete sections of my message and like make fragments and like actively like do like this extremely make it worse, like actively like remove grammar, cut out parts of the sentence, like just make it like retarded, and it would like fucking kill. And I was like, oh, this is very interesting. I don't know what the deal with this. It's probably some caveman wiring. And but nowadays I just write fucking nowadays, well, because I'm also just autist and I can't hold back the fucking word vomit when I type. I just send fucking essays,
it was at some
I'll
point.
Fucking send 8 messages in a row.
I went through and I basically realized that like all of the pickup artist Manosphere stuff, like if applied correctly in the right context, was right. And like that last part is very big, right? Because like your average Twitter guy will read, Oh, women like it when you treat them bad, and they will message some girl like,
Fuck
you
you,
disgusting fucking whore, I'm going to kill you. Fuck you. And like, it was like, no, dude, no. Johnny, no. Like, actually, you were supposed to just say, like, your hair looks silly today. Fuck. Like,
No.
So like you go and you have to learn. You have to like learn the and like
subtlety.
this is the same thing with all dating advice, right? Like all dating advice on the internet is actually true. It's just a matter of like to what extent and in what context.
Yes, it is
Like
contextual.
there's basically none of it that's just outright false. Even the most like ridiculous, most largely inapplicable advice from like the most retard incel sitting in his basement will at some point in some context be true and right.
Yes. And
But you have to go out and you have to embarrass yourself horribly in order to figure out which of these contexts are the correct ones, right? Like you have to do it. You have to stick your nose out, and it's going to get cut off a lot.
yeah, you got to pull your dick out one time and just have absolute horrific experience. Or, you know, sometimes you got to send, you respect my fuck. Sometimes you got to do caveman shit. But also, sometimes you got to send a flower, you know? Sometimes there's room for both.
And there was a lot. So I went through,
Let me give
all of this.
Let me give the Virgin Lucas people some deep Lindy.
Go for it.
I hope my girlfriend doesn't listen to this.
She's listening right now.
It's very possible. You got to set a random number generator of 0 to 31.
Oh, you're literally giving away my tactics, dude. What the?
Random number generator, and then fucking send the fucking subscription flowers out on that day. Boom.
God damn it.
Maybe we're too.
So well, the other thing, okay, as long as we're just fully blowing the fucking top off.
Is this the fucking
As long
top?
as we're fully blowing the fucking, it doesn't have to be flowers. You can.
It can be
send her-
anything.
You can send her a letter. You can send her a long text message. You can call her.
But it gotta be-
just you've got a 1 to 30 random number generator. You know you don't even have to random number generator. You can
don't
just
think of
you
one.
can just make it every second Tuesday of the month. I'm going
True.
to write her a letter.
Yeah.
And you can just make it the thing.
I got this esoteric advice from my
this
ex-girlfriend's dad, actually.
Yeah, this is literally necessary. Like if you're an autistic male, this is something you have to develop systems for because you're not going to be the type of guy who is going to naturally go out and do these sort of romantic things. Likely because like as an autistic male, you
just aren't thinking about
understand
it.
romance in the capacity that you experience romance, and you understand that you don't necessarily value things like a monthly love letter, right?
Yes.
Like this isn't your love language. So your ability to think, oh, if I do this for my girlfriend, it's going to make her happy is like greatly diminished, but it actually will.
It works
because
very
girls
well.
are different than you. So you have to just create the system and do the thing that makes no sense to you.
Yes.
And then it will reward you in other strange ways that you don't expect, right?
See, this is the thing. You got to make sure. Yeah, the thing is, it seems like that's very much my autism, right? Because I think it needs to be random. Because I would pick up on the every second Tuesday of the month thing.
Well, it doesn't.
But the girls don't notice.
Well,
or
it doesn't
care.
matter. It doesn't
They
matter
don't care at all.
It doesn't matter. It like they don't need it to be like a random spontaneous thing that's happening. They literally like it is a token that you still care about them and are still invested in the relationship and
you're
still,
maintaining
and you
the
still,
tradition.
You still plan to like marry them. You're not like wandering off and getting distracted by like the dancing TikTok girls and like all of these other shiny distractions.
Good
right?
Good point. That's a very good point. It all kind of comes full circle. But yeah, this is deep alpha. This is the only thing. This is all that matters.
This is the deep alpha.
This is the
You have
deepest
to-
of alpha.
The secret deep alpha is that you have to continually put some form of effort into your relationship. That will be $1 million, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And subscribe to our Patreon.
More baller tips like this from Top G's, Lucas and Verse on the
Top G.
Patreon.
Fucking that's the kind of information you're getting. The Sigma Symposium, bitches. Now subscribe, hit that like button.
Dude, we should literally start writing like incel dating posts on.
We should. I mean, that'll probably give us more money than anything else.
Dude, I think honestly, like there's a big market for like autists who just don't they don't understand like they can't do the translation layer to get into like female.
But here's the problem,
which is like
though.
it's very easy for me because half of my brain is literally female.
Yes, but here's the
like-
problem though. If you do it, but if you don't have the Tate marketing, it's not going to work. Like, are we gonna get the top
Dude, well,
G's?
this is kind of what I was saying earlier about like you have to believe in the product to sell it. I can't sell myself as a Tate. I'm not a Tate.
Yeah, we're not Tates.
I'm not gonna be out here flashing my Bugatti at you with like 87 bitches. Like I've always been like a sort of highly monogamous guy who seeks out like weird autist freak women and like is for the most part like totally disinterested in the rest in any sort of sexual capacity, and goes and just focuses on whatever his weird like hobby autistic.
This is a very hard to market, unfortunately. This is a very niche market.
This is a very niche market.
But our podcast is a niche market.
It does exist, is the thing. It does exist. And
I don't want to get some bimbo thought. How do I get, wifey? I don't know, but we got to talk to Verse and Lucas.
Yeah.
They know.
We're here to sell you not on attracting your casual sex partner who's going to be some sort of degraded thing for you to use for the night in like a weird animalistic tradition of Tinder dating escapades.
If you pay twice as often, pay twice as much for our super premium content, I can give you that information too. I can teach you all the degenerate things you might need in our super premium tier membership. The $20 a month membership.
I literally like can't even like advise towards that anymore because like I felt so black pilled during the whole period.
Yeah, no, I can't do it either. But yeah, no, I never really was good at it either. I did it for a little bit, but like it's really
I had to get so fucked up, and I had to do so many weird drugs to interact with like a bunch of
I was doing
like,
weird drugs. That's true.
Yeah, like with a bunch of like weird normie people doing like the whole party thing.
Well, yeah, weird drugs are part of the party thing. I do like the energy of going to like a college bar. And not college, but like recent grad bar, like those 22-year-old bars where people are partying and making out. I like the vibes. I like the energy. Like I like the unbridled optimism for life. You haven't been fucking crushed by reality yet. That's a nice vibe. But when I show up blackout drunk, it's probably not a good look. But hey, it is fun to be around and they start playing Kesha. And you start fist pumping. You're like, yeah, it's lit.
I had Kesha's first two albums, Cannibal and Animal, in my car. Well, okay, Cannibal was an EP, but they were in my car's disc changer for literally all of college.
All the music references that I have tried to make with Lucas, that Kesha was going to be the one that hit.
Yeah,
you know the EP titles. I've never heard any of. I don't know the names of any of her content.
Kesha's honestly, she's a pretty smart girl too.
I knew she used to write songs for Britney and shit like that. She's like the background. She was the background chick for a lot of like pop stars, and then she became the.
And then she capitalized it.
And then she got like
capitalized on it.
She was like some fucking slave to some dude record exec like Britney too.
Yeah, she got a little bit turned out by the system there.
It'd be like that sometimes. People do be getting turned out.
She was a good girl though.
Yeah, shout out to Kesha.
No, my music.
Allegedly, she has a high IQ. They say she's.
Yeah, she's no.
Her and Shakira.
I mean, you can tell if you like listen to her in interviews versus like the other standard person in her position, right? Like she's brighter than average, and like I don't know. The music that I listen to is all like a bunch of alt indie stuff in like high school and then like EDM.
Oh yeah, we know you like the EDM.
There's like these
Lucas
weird.
Listening to Tiesto, just fucking fist pumping in his car.
All of the 2010s era EDM stuff that I don't know the names to.
Zed's dead. He's listening to. I know exactly what it is. I used to date this girl. You listen to Zed. You listening to fucking Tiesto and fucking I don't know all that shit. There was one group. These two Adventure
Time.
Not Adventure Time. Adventureland. Adventure something.
Adventureland, I think, was a festival.
That's a movie. That's a festival. There is Adventure Club. I think it's Adventure Club.
Yeah, I remember there was. Yeah, right. Adventure Time was obviously the fucking.
I think it's Adventure Club. That was the.
I think it was Adventure Club.
It's like two hot dudes, and they would have raves, and then she was like a fucking like kind of like those fish people who follow fish around. She was like following Adventure Club around, which probably meant she was ran through. But we were like 18, 19, so she couldn't have been that ran through yet. I hear these days, yes.
Insert Tate-pilled Reddit Manosphere article about the body count of the average American 19-year-old.
That's true. It's
4 million. That's 4 million. That's 4 million penises that have been in and outside of this woman. You're going to marry her? You're going to marry a woman with 4 million penises.
Fortunately, we're not married.
You're going to listen to music made by 4 million penis women? Every time one of her songs enter your brain, 4 million penises go with it.
That's true.
4 million penises
I'll say
in
this,
and out your ears every day.
I've alve been good at catching the hoe right before the
That's what we call oral sex. AURAL sex.
Oral sex. I've always been good at catching the hoe before the wave crests. Like right before the wave hits its peak of its crest, and then she turns into like actual like thought with 100 body count.
Oh
I
my.
catch him at like right before that.
I'm the example of that, except instead of cresting, it's right before they either transition or become a lesbian. Which in many ways can be seen also as its own crest.
That is his own crest in a way. You know, we all have our niche market, but yeah, Adventure Club, I think is what it was called. I used to go to these raves. I hate raves though. Well, except for the Millennium Rave. Shout out to whatever. That was fun.
I don't know if I could do it anymore.
Oh, you would absolutely hate it. I hate it.
Like I'm so like
I just appreciated that. I just appreciated it. It was fun.
like I can listen
new.
to the music and I still will get like the visual like streamers and shit, and I'll like feel halfway like I'm on Molly if I listen to the right song.
True.
That I have like enough of a memory to, but if I like actually entered a rave environment, I think I would feel so extremely disoriented.
Raves are back then I actually hated it. Now I look back fondly because I was like, you know, good times. You're young.
Yeah, I mean,
back then
there's a lot. There's
hated
definitely a lot of the idealization of the rave memories.
Yeah, I
But,
actually remember explicitly
being like a jacked shirtless guy with a bunch of his also jacked shirtless friends at
the
a
rave,
rave
yeah.
is like that's close to as much like environmental clout as you're ever going to experience as like a human, right?
I was not the jack shirtless guy. I was actually. That's when I was in my skinny vegetarian twink era, and I was like dreading being there. And I was like, I want to go to a metal concert. Why I'm at? Or I want to see the fucking math rock band. I don't want to fucking be here, but I'm here because my hot girlfriend who's in like neon lingerie or whatever the fuck they wear and like furry cat ears is fucking
the rave clothes are so like I see them and there's literally a smell. Like I see someone wearing the rave clothes.
It smells like
there is literally like a
sweat
smell
and
that comes
ketamine.
in. Yeah, it's,
like battery.
like it's a definitive combination of like organic and chemical smells.
Yeah.
That was only ever.
It smells like candy
I swear
bracelets.
there's something
candy
about
bracelets
there's
and
something about the
blow
smell
pops.
of people who are on like copious amounts of Molly that is not.
Yeah, it's a very strange. Actually, yeah,
It's not the same as normal sweat.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, no, I did not like it. I was always wearing all black. I was not vibing. But I tried to have a good time because she was hot. And I was like 21 and I wanted to be the cool older boyfriend to my 2 years younger girlfriend.
I don't know why, but like raves, I never really experienced the same. Like if I were to go into, it's like actually me and my girlfriend went to something with her family recently where it was like an event for alums of this college, and it was basically like a crypto party essentially, like in terms of what the environment was like.
Nice.
And I was totally sober, she was totally sober, and we were both just sort of like, this is not the vibe. We feel there's a bunch of old people around connecting over things.
Being sober at a rave is fucking brutal.
Being sober at a rave somehow isn't nearly as bad as like that weird.
Well, you can dance at the rave at least, so you can like get into like a psychological
and, like,
trance.
Something about like if you're at a rave and you're not dancing, you really feel stupid.
Yeah.
And like at these like weird sort of pseudo club things where it's like there's like 5% of the people dancing.
Yeah.
It's like
You can
if
get away with it, yeah.
you're not great at dancing and you're not super in the mood to dance, being in that like 5% of people who are dancing doesn't feel like something you want to do. But at a rave,
is like
it's
everyone.
like you're going to have fun because everyone is dancing and it doesn't matter. Like you can literally have no idea how to dance and like who's going to...
You don't have to be on time. You don't have to do any kind of... Yeah, everyone's just like in a trance.
Yeah. So it always winds up being fun. And especially if you go and you are a jacked guy and you are shirtless and you are with a bunch of your friends and you are having fun, like you will just get swarmed, right? Like that is literally the only time in which like being that muscular has
useful.
any sort of like, yeah.
That's
Like
a good
I'm
point,
not
yeah.
going to say it's never useful in
That's
any other
definitely the
capacity,
peak
but like
use.
that is the unique example in which
I mean, there's a reason
girls
why
care most
you go to
about it.
Miami and you got the fist pumping bros who are jacked, like or
Yeah.
Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
Like, this is why this exists because it
Yeah, well,
works.
I mean, people always talk about shit like functional strength, right? Like, oh, like
No.
if the beam of the building catches on fire and falls down, I'll be able to deadlift it out of your way, sweetheart. But it's like, no, the real functional strength is looking jacked, right? Like that's the only legitimate function for muscle in 2023 right now.
Being
right?
able to pick up the ton of pussy.
Yeah, literally. Like
the metric ton of
the only function is looking cool or having your clothes fit better or something like that. It's not like you're ever going to be going out and like rescuing anyone from anything.
No, you're never rescuing shit.
Oh, thanks for opening the jar, sweetie. Like,
no, that gets you some clout opening some jars.
You can open jars.
You can
is the most skinny, fat, like out of shape grease ball, though. It's just girls are bad at jar opening. Nobody knows why. I think God did it as like a specific handicap to make us like more useful.
Yeah, it gives them a reason to like still like need you.
Yeah, they're small, shitty fingers. God like sat there specifically subtracting like.
But you know, the Zoomers are losing grip strength.
Everyone's losing grip strength. Have you seen since like the 80s? It's literally been like a massive drop down in grip strength. This was like, are you aware of what's going on in like the arm wrestling community?
Yes, about the old dudes winning. We talked about this on here.
Yeah. I think we did. But basically, for anyone who hasn't been listening for all 45 billion hours of our podcast episodes, the gist of it was that old people are dominating arm wrestling still, despite the fact that like. Typically, old guys don't win any sports, right? Like, it's very, very unusual to go out and see, like, a 60-year-old man be at the king of any sort of sport. And this is now happening with arm wrestling, where you're having all of the new young bucks getting totally BTFO by these, like, literal old men. And so this isn't, like, something that's always been going on, right? Like, the dominant age demographic in arm wrestling was not always 60-year-old men. It used to be younger guys, but something happened, and there was a big article that Krimka, or not an article, there's a big Twitter thread that Krimka wrote where he was speculating basically on the correlation between autism and the loss of grip strength. And his basic conclusion, as far as I remember it, was that an increase in autism is resulting in a decrease in your ability to recruit the individual motor neurons in your hands, which are... Like your hands, in order to flex your hand around something, you need to be firing off like a ton of different muscle groups at the same time. And he was basically saying that this requires more coordination than the younger generations have. They just don't have the ability to fire all of them off at the same time.
Do you think that we were born with less coordination because we're getting autistic genetically, or that we're being environmentally autistic?
I don't think he said anything there, and my speculation is
like the question is like,
good.
Is it just that we're not like doing farmhand shit anymore, right? We're not like doing physical labor, or is it that we're on the computers all day, or that's the same thing, or is it that we're born like retarded?
So I think that. I don't think he said anything about this, but my personal guess would be that it's environmental, because if it were. That it's genetic, because if it were environmental, like even though there's less people who are working in farms all day, there are still people doing it, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. They're still losing theirs too.
Yeah. And it's like a universal across the board generational neg, as opposed to specific populations are just getting worse.
So we're basically all this is to say we're all fucked. We're all fucking a fat femboys.
Yeah, we're literally becoming like weird twinks.
Damn. And
however, though, the ability of the autistic generations to recall information is something absurd, like 5 times higher. Like if you were to go and ask a boomer like a specific factoid or like a specific statistic from a study they remembered, like, hey, do you remember that study that we were talking about before where it was talking about like the generational increase in autism? Do you remember like what the percentage increase from 1997 to 1998 was? Like, Zoomers and millennials are massively more likely to remember this specific number than boomers, whereas boomers will barely remember like the trend of it.
That's actually very interesting. This probably explains why I used to ask my ex-girlfriend's parents like things they're smart. You would think they would know some shit. And then
you ask them things that are like totally normal and easy to recall for you, and they just
no idea.
It's not there. Like it's just not in their brain.
Or like I think I asked them something like I was like me and my girlfriend had a bet, and this is like something like such a stupid trivia thing, but it's like a boomer trivia thing. It was like, oh, what is the address for the White House, right? And you would think that a boomer is because like this is not like a specific statistic. There's not some weird techie shit, right? This is like boomers like the country and patriot.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I asked them. She's like, there's no chance they know at all. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, they watch news and yeah, no fucking clue. They were like, there's an address for the White House? I thought it was just at the White House. I was like, what the fuck do you mean? Yeah, it has an address. Do you know what it is?
No.
Oh, it's 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
It's 1600. They didn't even make it like 1.
No, it's 1600
That's
Pennsylvania
so
Avenue.
fucking stupid. That's so fucking. You literally have the White House. And you can't name it 1. You can't give it a street address 1.
It should be 1 Pennsylvania. It shouldn't even be Pennsylvania Avenue, but yeah, it's 1600 Pennsylvania.
It should literally be 1 USA Avenue.
Yeah, it should
and the
be.
area code should be like 99999.
Yeah, it's very funny. But yeah, no, I don't know why I know that. I thought everyone knew that, and she was like, "No, you're a fucking freak. That's why you know that." I was like, "Oh, yeah,
it's
maybe."
literally because we have autism.
Yeah, basically,
and not like the meme kind of autism.
No, we all have
but
a little
the
bit of
generational kind of autism that's been creeping up.
generational autism. That's what we have. Absolutely,
Generational genetic autism.
And
and this is why eventually even the Zoomer men won't be able to open the pickle jars.
Yes,
We're going to have to develop some sort of new hybrid third gender.
I think we've done that. I think we did that. It's all coming together.
I'm taking hormones not to try and become a bodybuilder, but just because I can no longer open the various containers for food that I buy at the grocery store.
When AI starts opening robots, we have to have robots to open the fucking jars for us. Thanks, Tesla. Thanks, Elon.
Have we done a deep dive into AI, either optimism or depression yet?
Here?
Yeah.
No, we haven't. I don't think I have the mental fortitude for it, though. At the moment, I think I'm.
I don't know if I want to record any of my thoughts on AI because it's something.
Oh yeah, they're gonna come for us, bro.
Well, it's something that's gonna be not because I'm worried about like the AI is coming to like nuke me, but because it's iterating so quickly that in like 3 years,
you're
like
wrong.
It's not even gonna. Yeah, right. Like it's not even gonna be like something where I have to wait like 20 years to see if I'm wrong. It's gonna be like in another few months, somebody's. And this is already. It's like my my article about Sam Bankman-Fried that I wrote, and then like literally like one day later, the exact opposite of my prediction comes out. And I was like, thank God I put a footnote in the end that said all of this might be totally wrong, and I could just be a total idiot. So,
bro, no, yeah, AI. I mean, like, with people are saying that they're never gonna get Chess and Go like a week before they beat like Chess and Go, like Deep Blue or whatever.
Oh yeah,
or AlphaGo.
Well, like, how could it not learn chess? Right, it's the same thing with like any board game that has like a limited number of iterations.
Well, they figured. Well, there's the number of iterations for chess is like more than atoms in the universe. So they just figured it was too complicated.
They just figured, the number is too big for the computer.
Yeah, effectively. Like they couldn't. Well, the way they were thinking about it before is that they would brute force all the options, but because of how many options there are, even with faster computation, they're like, this doesn't make sense that they could do this. But we realized eventually that you don't have to learn every fucking combination. You just have to learn rules and like more. It was harder to do abstract, higher level thinking about chess pieces and shit. And once they figured that out, they're like, oh, we don't have to. You don't need to think of every combination. You need to think of how do I get this closer to a optimized.
Yeah.
There's only like, let's say there's like trillions of options. I think there's actually even more than that. But it's like quintillion. But like in reality, there's only like maybe at any point like 100,000 max options of like ideal play. You don't have to try everything.
There's very few times where you're going to be in a situation where like your end game and then the guy's going to be like, what if I moved this pawn that I haven't touched for the last like 400 moves?
Yeah, exactly. And like there are situations where I think they start doing clusters and stuff. I think they optimized the problem and it became really easy, right? Similar with Go and stuff like that. Well, Go is harder because it's like spatial. And humans can very easily do higher level spatial composition stuff that the computer has to go through and like iterate through it all. And it's just there was just way too much information, like way more than chess.
Yeah.
And then they figured out how to do more visual.
I know.
shit.
Yeah, I know. Go is definitely like a complicated.
I mean,
game compared to chess.
Go is basically like I mean, this is gonna be every fucking autist is gonna get mad at me for this, but it's basically like CAPTCHA or like how we could like how computers can like recognize CAPTCHA for image shit. Is like, can you recognize a good board in Go? They do that now as opposed to like because it's the same essential idea. It's like you don't need to understand each piece generation. You kind of need to understand regions and. A certain coordination of good regions is like a good. I'm butchering this, I'm sure, but effectively, once you get better visual.
Am I going to be really shitty at Go because I have a poor ability to imagine a room with the furniture arranged into a different combination?
No. We can do it. Humans do it really easily.
Huh.
It's like an early human invention game because it's very easy for our brains to optimize this way. Because you don't have to look at the entire board. You look at like regions at any given time. It doesn't have to be. It's just that there's so many it's like a 32 by 32 or 64 by 64 board. So it's like just a lot of points and a lot of options. It's just really large. And like the pieces aren't like moving logically like chess where they have to like a limited number. You could put a fucking dot anywhere on the board at any point in time. So because you can put dots anywhere, you actually have to iterate through every single option. Because unlike chess where there's only like 12 legal moves.
Yeah, like
there's 64 by 64 or whatever number it is, legal moves at every point in time. So it was just a way bigger problem to deal with. But humans, we don't have to think about every option. We just have to think about what we're doing at any time. So it was really easy for us. So once they optimized the problem with more visual stuff, once you like learned how to do CAPTCHA and whatever, they were like, oh, this is easy actually. So, boom. This is all to say that AI is going to download the entire internet and listen to this. So just know that our future benevolent leader, that I am not dissing your coming.
I do always wonder about like, what the extent of its utility is going to be if we don't scale compute costs. Because like
that's so pragmatic. That's a good point, actually.
I mean, we have Chat GPT right now, right? And it's
burning
like everyone, right? Exactly, and that's the thing is Chat GPT just asking it queries at the rate that we're doing it is causing millions of dollars of loss per day.
What if the whole time we've all been scared of fucking Terminator scenario, and the reality is that capitalism saved us the whole time from the oncoming AI fucking like doomsday scenario? Is that it's just too expensive for Terminator
it's just too expensive for it. But I mean, like, I think the actual scary outcome is going to be, yeah, we do AI and we continue progressing it, and the compute costs never come down to the point where it's useful for the average consumer. But like
only the super rich
we get to the point where the wealthy people in the country can go and ask it, how do I build $1 billion business?
And it just goes whoop.
Yeah, and it literally goes through and it
that's
iterates.
Even worse.
It looks and it says, okay, here is a viable like market sector that hasn't been attacked. Here's a viable product that would fit it. Here's a list. Here's a list of people who we could go and contact.
Oh, it's so
here's
over.
the copywriting for it, and then it'll be able to generate like. I mean, it can already make pictures. If it can make pictures, it can make video.
Yeah.
So it makes its own advertising materials and video.
Fuck, that's so bad.
It does the copywriting
that's so
for
evil.
It determines the ideal Google Ads sector to go and place all of this in, where it can maximize ad spend. It promotes itself.
Jesus.
None of this.
Just, we could do this probably tomorrow.
We literally could do this
if we had like
right
one
now.
person
Like
dedicated.
none of this is stuff that's like outside the realm of what AI is potentially capable of doing.
They were just had like one motive, like it was motivated on doing it for one person.
It's literally just this is something that somebody would have to go and tell it to string multiple chunks of actions together.
But we have those.
We know it can do market analysis.
We know
that
all
it
those
can do
already now.
copywriting. We know it can create promotional materials. Like all
the video
all
might be hard. The video part might be a little bit
The video part
different.
currently is going to. I mean, the thing is, we know that there is AI that can create very good video right now. We just don't have access to it.
Yes, good point. Yeah.
Like there's absolutely no way that DALL-E is the most high level image creation technique. This is like what they give the plebes.
I'm wondering what. Yeah, we need to get fucking Arun to tell us the details, the fucking inside scoop. He's not going to give a shit, by the way.
No, he won't.
He's absolutely no 0% chance. But when Arun starts like fucking like jerking off the AI like singularity, he already is. But like when he's like really like jerking off on the timeline, you know that the Antichrist is coming like next week. So we got to keep an eye on Rune to make sure we know. Like, when they fucking invoke our new overlord and just turn him on, you'll know. The singularity starts. So, you know what's funny? I used to read the book Singularity is Near. I actually have it right here. And you do like AI predictions, and he's like, the singularity is basically when AI comes on and can like iterate on itself.
Basically the first generation of AI that is able to like handle itself.
Yeah. So now I used to say, so his prediction is late. So he has a few estimates. His prediction is like 2040 as like the median estimate, and like his high estimate is like 2030 somewhere. He thinks like 2045 is like the estimate he like is officially betting on. He's like low estimates 2070, whatever. And the way that DALL-E's looking is starting to look like we might have to deal with the singularity like a lot sooner, and I don't really want to deal with that. Ted K was right. It's fucking over, bro.
I mean, it is one of those things where, like, if it actually gets rolled out in any sort of capacity that we're talking about here, it's gonna like BTFO everyone, right?
Yeah, everyone's fucked. Yeah. Everyone's some of the people who can like wield it. Now, granted, they claim the Bugmen. I don't want them in charge of shit because they have horrible. Every fucking Bugman effective altruist just ended up being a demon.
This is my big.
I don't
thought
want
on
them
this
in charge
is,
of
like,
it.
The whole AI ethics field, I think, has handicapped AI to such an extent that, like, there's a good chance that these weird AI ethics freaks might actually just lobotomize AI to the extent that it can, like, never reach this point, right?
Yes.
Like, if you're going to go through and you're going to prevent the AI from ever actually, like, looking at the very large trends in data because they seem mean to you.
Yeah, you're gonna fucking.
It can't actually, like, you know, you've prevented it from interfacing with the world in the way that it needs to in order to properly iterate. You can't expect something that's iterated on fake data to have the same results that, like, something that's iterated on real data would in, like, the real world.
Yeah, no, the ethicists are gonna ruin everything as they always do. Yeah. We have to finish anyway. Wait. We're getting to the point where our physical needs are catching up.
My physical needs allow me to
Lucas can go on forever.
I can literally podcast for a 28-hour period uninterrupted.
We'll do a 5-hour podcast. He's like, oh, we have to stop. Like, bro, some of us are human.
And this will be a 5-hour podcast that I've performed after walking around, like, talking to people all day, or on Twitter Spaces, or like at work or something.
Yeah,
I have an unlimited capacity to talk.
Lucas is a true extrovert that the rest of us just cannot compare to. It's just we just do not have that in us. And I'm an extroverted too, but he's just on a different level. So yeah, I guess we can cut it here. That was a good way. We talk about the fucking apocalypse. That's a way to end a podcast.
That's not bad, I will say.
When he gets older, he won't sound like this anymore, right?